Good afternoon. Thank you all for joining us. Today I'm pleased to be joined by our Chief of Police, Dave Nisleit, who we're going to hear from in just a second. But before I begin, I want to just a quick update from the County of San Diego, which we heard earlier, in relation in terms of the public health update and the continued progress in San Diego County on testing, tracing, and treatment. And I think that really goes to show how seriously San Diegans continue to take this and your positive actions to beat back this virus, with a lot of work still to do. Supervisor Cox, chairman of the board, talked about the steps that the county is taking regarding an accelerated and safe reopening. As you know, we've been talking a lot about that, particularly in the last week. This is an approach that I fully support. And I know the Board of Supervisors is going to be discussing this accelerated reopening at the meeting coming up next Tuesday. My message, our united message, continues to be that San Diego is ready to safely reopen. And I can't wait for that discussion, the metrics that are going to be developed that will allow our county to have the flexibility to safely reopen. And it really is, again, to be in this position is demonstrated by all of the hard work that San Diegans have done. More about this important topic about getting us back to work early next week. So thank you. Today I'd like to provide a couple of updates. First, a preview of the yearly SANDAG crime statistics report. That's what Chief Nisleit will be here for. Second up, opening up of neighborhood parking lots to half capacity. I'll give some specifics of that for our neighborhood parking lots. Third, the touching tribute that happened earlier today for the late MTS CEO Paul Jablonski. And lastly, of course, I'll be highlighting things that San Diegans continue to do to step up. But topic number one, which is a preview of the yearly SANDAG Crime Index Region Report. SANDAG is going to release this report for crime in the San Diego region. And it will show that overall crime declined in the city of San Diego by 1.3% in 2019 compared to the previous year. That is, of course, welcome news for all San Diegans, that we consistently rank as one of the safest big cities in America. And it is a direct result of the fantastic work that our men and women who wear the badge and keep us safe every day and every night continue to do for us. Our police officers do phenomenal work. And as the chief will highlight, crime statistics continue to trend down in the right direction. I can't thank our department members enough, our officers enough, particularly during times like this when we're relying on our public safety heroes, all of our men and women in public safety, to keep us safe. Public safety always is our top priority in San Diego, and particularly the efforts that we have taken over the last several years to rebuild our police department in our city. A few years ago, as I think you know, my administration reached a landmark agreement with our Police Officers Association with one goal. How do we make compensation more competitive with other law enforcement agencies so we can recruit and retain the best and brightest men and women that are out there? We have followed that up with a very aggressive marketing campaign to attract new recruits, not just here in California, but from across the country. We're seeing the results. Our police academies have seen their largest class sizes in more than a decade. And once again, crime was down last year. So I'm going to turn it over to the chief in just a second, but I want to give you a little bit of background about this crime report. This is a yearly report that is put out by SANDAG, and they compile and analyze the crime data using FBI index crime information provided by all of our local law enforcement agencies. Here's some of the highlights for the city of San Diego. First and foremost, crime decreased in 2019 by 1.3%. It's the lowest violent crime rate per 1,000 residents compared to the 10 largest cities in the country. The violent crime rate in 2019 is comparable to the rate the city experienced in the 1970s. And property crime rate in 2019 is comparable to rates the city of San Diego experienced in the late 1950s. These numbers really showcase, as I mentioned earlier, the phenomenally hard work and the dedication of the men and women of our San Diego Police Department, especially as we fight COVID-19. And as we continue to flatten the curve, San Diegans continue to do their part to keep our men and women in blue safe as well. Your compliance and your cooperation and patience has helped make sure that officers are out of harm's way during this pandemic, and we must continue to do so. So that is going to help keep us not only safe, that's in one of the safest big cities in the United States, but to keep us all healthy. And with that, I will bring up Chief Nisleit to talk about these results. And Chief, just congratulations and thank you for all the hard work, not only of yourself, but it's really a reflection, obviously, of the entire department, of which our city is so incredibly proud. Chief Nisleit.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to say, we'll be reporting out on our crime stats, and as the Mayor said, we continually trend downward in our crime stats. And when you look at our violent crime, for it to be down nearly 3%, the only area we saw an increase was in homicides, and it's something that something we monitor weekly. It's something I'm trying to drive down. But when you look at everything, we had sexual assaults, rapes reduced by 7.3%. Our robberies were reduced by 6.5%, and our aggravated assaults were down just nearly 1%, for a total violent crime rate to drop to 2.7%. When you look at our burglaries, 5.6% down. Thefts down just barely, and vehicle theft also down, so property crimes are down 1%. And again, when you look at our crime trends and our crime stats, our violent crime, we haven't seen these numbers since the 1970s, and our property crime not since the late 1950s. But I really want to talk about why. And it's really about the work the men and women of our police department do, from our police officers to our investigators to our call takers and communications to our crime lab folks to everybody that touches it, to our support staff of the police department and to our community. It's one big team really working on driving crime down. But when crime does happen, it's about how we respond, how it's investigated, and how we collaborate with our communities that we so dearly serve. And so it's very important to me to kind of monitor these, and I'm very happy to report, again, as the Mayor's been saying, our crime is down, and we will continue to drive that down. That is our mission. Our mission is to address crime, and I just can't say enough about the men and women of this police department and the work they do on a daily basis. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you for a highlight of that report that is coming out. And again, thank you to all San Diegans for your help and support with our department, our men and women, particularly during this COVID-19 pandemic. Second topic today is the opening up of parking lots at neighborhood parks at half capacity now, starting on Monday. We will begin the gradual reopening of parking lots in all neighborhood parks to that half capacity mark. We're going to be making those changes throughout the week, so I expect them to fully be in place by the end of next week. Of course, encourage everybody to walk to their neighborhood park, be active, walk around, go for a jog, of course, all being out there, being active, but please remember to do so by practicing physical distancing and wearing a face covering. San Diegans are doing a remarkably good job at that. We need to keep that up. And when you've done at your neighborhood park, of course, go back to your house, wash your hands with warm soap and water for at least 20 seconds. That's how we're going to continue to stay healthy and beat back this virus and stop the spread. This change for neighborhood parks does not affect our large regional parks like Balboa Park and Mission Bay, where the parking lots will continue to remain closed for the time being. But you'll be able to find more information on this by going to our website, sandiego.gov/coronavirus. Next topic. Just really great tribute today to Paul Jablonski. Thank you, MTS, for honoring the life and legacy of its late CEO. During this tribute, MTS had a 40-bus procession go through downtown San Diego. I think you can see it up on the slide. They started at the intersection of Park Boulevard and President's Way in Balboa Park and drove to the East Village, pausing briefly at the 12th and Imperial Transit stop for a traditional three-horn salute of the trolley at the station. Paul Jablonski was truly a visionary, a man of kindness, persistence, personality. He made a great and lasting mark on San Diego and the entire region. He's going to be gratefully missed, greatly missed. And just all my best to his family. Thanks again to SDPD for helping to coordinate that, Chief. Paul Jablonski, what a great San Diegan. Topic number 4, finally, our continued efforts to highlight San Diegans stepping up in time of this great need. We're all adjusting to the new normal. Normal activities like, we can't go to a live show performance, just they're not happening right now. But one local artist wants the show to go on. Kristen is a local dancer and founder of ARC Entertainment. She knew that many San Diegans stay at home. They're missing out on the arts and culture and events that they used to enjoy. So Kristen and 2 of her dancers, who she is acquainted with, have decided to put on new performances each day. And so each day, a new performance is streamed live on Instagram at 1 p.m. And so far, they've shared dozens of new dances that they've created and performed during this quarantine, bringing a lot of joy to many San Diegans that continue to tune in. So thank you, Kristen, and all the other dancers for helping to keep the arts going and showcasing San Diego's resilience and our love of arts and culture. You can tune in next week for a new performance on Instagram at ARC Entertainment Company. And if you see somebody who's continuing to step and do new and unique things for our entire region in San Diego, please use the hashtag San Diegans Step Up. Hashtag San Diego Steps Up. Weekends coming up. Done a really great job, San Diego, the last couple weeks at the beach. Let's continue that progress. I know we're going to have a nice weather. We're going to make sure we're still following all the rules. Keep moving when you're out at the beach. We are not going to give up the gains that we have made as a city. Because we continue to do this and we continue to do this together. With that, I will be happy to answer any questions from members of the media.
Today's first question comes from Guillermo Mendez with Univision.
Hello, Guillermo.
According to Chula Vista PD, they have seen an increase in non-residential burglaries during this pandemic. What has been the crime trend during this pandemic for SDPD?
Thank you, Guillermo. I'll have the chief make a comment on that.
Yeah, thank you for the question. It's something that I monitor on a weekly basis. We're very fortunate, and I do talk to all the chiefs in the region, but our crime, especially on the burglaries, what I would call residential and commercial burglaries, have stayed relatively flat, like all of our crime has stayed relatively flat during this pandemic. And that's, again, just a lot of great cooperation by our communities and a lot of great work by our staff.
Thank you.
And the next question comes from Natalie Roca with iNewsSource.
Hello, Natalie.
Hi, Mayor. This is Natalie Rocha with iNewsSource. I wanted to see, what is your reaction to the Housing Commission's decision this morning to end negotiations with the 10 motels that were intended to permanently house the homeless San Diegans? And why did those negotiations to acquire these motels come to an end?
Yeah, no, I'm aware of that. And really so supportive of the Housing Commission and the work that we're all working on to provide new opportunities to house homeless individuals by using the ability to convert hotels into permanent housing. It's a great program. In fact, other places across the state are looking to emulate it. The hotels they had before them today didn't meet the criteria. They did a lot of good due diligence, but then it needs to work out. They need to be selective. That's exactly what they're doing and what I want them to do. And so this is a program that I think is going to pay tremendous dividends with one goal. How do we get people into a permanent, supportive place of their own? So I want that diligence to happen. The hotel properties have to make sense, both physically, they have to make sense financially, and that's the type of diligence that we need to do to make sure that as we bring these on, that it makes sense not just for the short term, but for the long term. With that, that's our last question today, so I want to thank everybody. Thank you, Chief, for all of the great work with our San Diego Police Department. Let's do a great job out on the beaches and our neighborhood parks this week, San Diego. I look forward to Monday's neighborhood update. Thank you very much.